Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to talk about the trend lines in Tableau. A trend line in Tableau is a powerful feature that helps us to visualize the central tendencies within the dataset. It offers a clear reference point, typically represented as a mean or average, allowing the users to quickly access how individual data points compare to this central value. The visual aid is invaluable for understanding the data trends and patterns, as it provides an immediate point of comparison. By customizing the trend lines, position, style, color, and labels, you can tailor it to match the aesthetics and requirements of your visualization. Trend lines are very crucial for understanding the relationship between variables. They can highlight whether there's a positive or negative correlation and the strength of that correlation, which provides us the valuable insights into the cause and effect relationship. Additionally, trend lines can be used to compare the actual data, projection, or forecast. By adding a trend line to a visualization, you can visually access how well your data aligns with the predicted outcomes, aiding in the performance analysis and decision making. In essence, the trend lines in Tableau empower the data analysis to deep dive into the dataset and which discovers the hidden trends and make informed decisions. Whether you are analyzing the sales data, tracking the performance metrics, or studying any dataset with evolving trends, trend lines provide a visual roadmap for understanding the data patterns and fostering data-driven decisions. So there are multiple type of trend lines that we can make in Tableau. Let's go to the Tableau screen and see how we can create a basic one, and then we'll be moving towards the next one. So let's try to create a basic trend line. To create one trend line, what I need is I need some order date or shipping date over here because we are working with a global superstore dataset and I want to see the trend in the sales or profit or any kind of activity that is present in this particular measure section. So for now, I'm taking the order date and I'm looking at how well is my sales going on with these order dates. Let's try to convert it into the line chart. After converting it in the line chart, I am seeing that this is increasing and this is increasing at a good pace. Now I want to predict what would happen in the next coming 1 year, 2 year, or in the next upcoming quarters. How would this trend go on? So to do that, what I need a trend line. Let's try to convert this yearly data into the quarterly data first. So these are the multiple quarters, and this is the quarter-wise data for the sales that is happening. If I go in the analytics section, here I'm having this option of trend line. I'll drag this trend line and it is asking me to provide different kind of option. Like what is the option through which I want to provide this trend line? Do I want to provide it with a linear method? Logarithm is not applicable in this one. If I want to provide it in the exponential, polynomial, or the power. So we will discuss it one by one. Let's try to first fit it with the help of this linear method. And you can see it has now fit this trend line and how is this trend increasing. Now let's talk about what is a linear trend line. A linear trend line is a straight line which is used to depict a linear relationship between variables. It's a best fit line that represents the data with a consistent increase or decrease. And it is used where there's a linear progression in the data, such as the tracking monthly revenue growth in a business. So that can be one of the use cases of using this trend line in the linear format. After you have added this, you can easily see that there is this trend going in the upward direction. Now, you know the equation of a straight line is y equals to mx plus c. And whenever it has taken this particular line in the consideration, it might have taken some slope, some intercept, and other values of y. So let's try to find out what are the different parameters that it took while making this particular line. If I go over this line, you can see it has taken the sales as x, sorry, the sales as y because the equation of line is y equals to mx plus c. The m, which is the slope over here, is 562.375, and x is the quarterly order data over here, and the value of c is given over here. So right now I'm having the values of slope as well as the intercept. If I click on this line and if I click on edit, here I'd be getting multiple options to change this line type. For now, I've kept this line type as the linear line. But if you want to change the line type over here, you can easily do it by providing any other model type. So we will be discussing these lines again in a short while. Let me click OK for now. Now to format this line, what I can do is I can click on this line. I can go in the format option and I will be getting multiple formatting options for this. Let's say if I want to change the thickness of this line. So I can do it by going in the thickness of this line. It is right now giving me the options for formatting this particular visualization, but I don't want to format this visualization. So what I'll do is I'll again go on this line. I choose this format option after right clicking and wait for these formatting options to appear. Yeah. So this trend lines option over here is the one that we will be working with. So right now this trend line is showing with this dash line. If I want to increase or decrease the thickness, I can easily increase the thickness from this part. I can choose a different line type from over here. Right now, it was the dashed line. If I want to keep it as the dotted line, I can easily do it from here, and I can also change the color of this line. So let's try to keep the color as green, and I can also increase the opacity of this line. So the basic formatting option that we have done in all the other lines and the other charts, this is the formatting that you can do in this line. Now let's talk about a different trend line. This time I'm not taking this linear line. Let's talk about different line. Let's say exponential, logarithm. What are these lines? So let's try to create a different chart this time. Let's create a discrete chart. So to create a discrete chart, what I can do is I can double click on the order date and the sales value. And in the show me menu, instead of this continuous one, I'll choose this discrete line. Let's try to fit it in the entire view by choosing the entire view option. Again, I'll drag this trend line and I have these options: exponential, polynomial, power, and logarithm. This logarithmic option is not available for me right now because it only works with certain kind of visualizations, whatever visualization might support that particular trend line. So let's talk about different ones for now. Let's say what is exponential. So if you are using this exponential curve, this exponential trend line is a curved line that illustrates the exponential growth or decay in that data, and it is used when the data exhibits the compound or the diminished returns. So if your returns are diminishing in a certain way, you will be using this exponential trend line. These exponential trend lines are also employed in the scenarios like plotting the spread of a contagious disease or tracking the adoption of a new technology. So how does it go? Whenever you are tracking any contagious disease, so it rapidly increases at first time. And after some times when the person has increased the immunity against that disease, it tends to decrease. So there is some diminishing returns or there is some decay in that particular trend. So at that time, these kind of trend lines are taking. So I'll drag this trend line and I'll put it in the exponential one. And you can see it is taking this curved line right now. So whenever you are taking the exponential line, it is giving you the line in the curve format, and it is giving you also the equation of that particular line. You can see the equation is given over here in respect of the sales. You can also see some other values over there, like the R squared value, the P value. Now let's talk about what is the R squared value. So the R squared value is basically the value which defines all your data points. If that line is able to describe all your data points, the R value would be higher. If it is not higher, that means it is not able to describe your whole data set. Let's go in the sheet 5 and see this R value. You can see this R value was very less over here because this line was passing these data points, but it is not able to describe these whole data points. If you go over here, since this line is in curve format and it is able to connect multiple data points over here, it is able to explain those data points and it is able to verify those data points. So the R squared value over here is too high compared to the previous values. Now, in the trend lines, there is other option of logarithmic. Now, what is this logarithmic trend line? A logarithmic trend line is used to model the data with rapid initial growth, followed by a tapering effect. So if the growth is very rapid and then it is tapering effect, we will be using this logarithmic trend line. It follows a logarithmic curve that levels off over the time. You can use this logarithmic trend lines for representing the situations where the early growth is very fast, like the adoption of a new product that slows as the market saturates. Like for example, first a new technology is introduced. So many people are interested in that technology. So the adaptation would be very high in some of the cases. Sometimes it is not high because the technology is very costly to adapt. But it is not very costly, it is affordable. The adaptation would be high. But after some time, that market would be saturated because everybody must have used that particular product. So in that case, you can use this logarithmic trend lines. After that, we have this polynomial line. Now you can see this polynomial trend line is able to now explain the data even better. If I go over here, the R square value comes to 1, which is very, very good, but it is not good in every case. This polynomial trend line can accommodate the complex non-linear data, and it's applied when the relationship between the variables is more integrate than linear. These are used with the data for varying shapes. So let's say if your data is exhibiting various shape, you'll be using this kind of polynomial trend line, like modeling the trajectory of a projectile or studying the relationship between the temperature and the pressure in a gas. So these are some of the situations in which you can use these kind of trend line. If I go in the trend line again, I have this power trend line as the last option. Now, what is a power trend line? A power trend line can represent the data where one variable is a power of another. So if you are taking two variables over here, like over here, I've taken this time and sales. But if you have taken two variables and one variable is the power of another variable, you can take these power trend lines. And it also follows a curved path where one variable influences the other through a power relationship. These are employed in a situation where the data exhibits the power law distribution, which is common in physics, economics, and social science. So if you are dealing with that kind of data set, you might use these kind of trend lines. So these were some of the ways in which you can apply the trend lines, and you can apply multiple trend lines depending on the different need. I've already explained you the different needs for these trend lines, and it depends on the kind of data set that you are using. So in the data set where we are having the relationship in power, we'll be using the power trend line. If you want to exhibit the relationship, if you want to show the relationship between any shape which is very unusual, you can use this polynomial trend line, and the other trend lines can be used as well. So I hope the trend lines were clear to you. The formatting option in trend lines is very simple. You can go in this trend line option and you can do the formatting as needed. We will be meeting in the next session where we'll be talking about the focus lines next. Thank you.